Welcome to another episode of Kicking Tables. Today we're going to be talking about a game called Rapture, and we have two of the four creators of Rapture, René Rusin and Ilja Reissig. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Hello.
Hi
Thank
guys,
you.
hi guys. So pleased to be here.
Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you so much for joining us. And so, Rapture is an upcoming, it's a new tabletop war game that you've created. Why don't you go ahead and give us the lowdown on what it is, like the world involved, and what is Rapture?
Sure, no problem. Rapture is based on the myth or how do I say it better? It's based on part of the Revelation. So when the good guys on Earth raise to heaven, and the bad guys yeah stay at Earth,
Get
and
left
then
behind.
yeah left behind exactly.
That's right.
So this is what it's about, more or less. So we took this myth or this story from the Bible and evolved it into our own story. So we have ancient aliens, conspiracies, myth, legends, everything packed together in the story of Rapture, and that's where we are. So we basically have aliens coming to Earth to harvest the people on Earth, to gain resources from them, and then angel-like creatures come down to Earth to wipe out everybody else left behind, which isn't which they couldn't harvest because of DNA malfunction or whatever. I
Okay.
don't know how to probably explain it. Yeah. So this is where we sat at. So almost 90% of the humanity of the people are gone, and the other 10% left have to deal with what's happening right now. So a lot of underground organizations came to power or are trying to secure the power, like the New World Order, for example. They pull the strings in the back for many years or centuries or how for a long time, and are now. They are forced to go out of the shadows and secure their land, their people, and everything else. Because with all those people gone, um, humans are the most valuable resource in our world. So they are trying to keep them all together.
Right.
That's for one faction, and we have the angels, of course. Nothing much is known about them, and Atlantean faction. Those are the three main factions we have available in the Kickstarter, and the story is mainly based around them. Of course, we have a lot of other factions, but the main part resolves around those three factions.
Well, we
Awesome.
have the Ignon, you can't forget them. The
Yeah,
Ignon is
okay,
also.
we still have the Ignon, yeah.
Yeah, we've tried to give it all from the biblical perspective, a more scientific point of view. So, like when the old gods from the center of the Milky Way, they seed around multiple races to be harvested to meet their demands because they went to explore other galaxies, caught up a virus, and it's really like a bit like Corona, but we wrote the story obviously 5 years ago,
Right.
the main ideas. So they are trying to get a vaccine and therefore are planting human beings or like yeah life beings that resemble them. Like with convergent evolution, they have the same DNA which can be harvested to make the vaccine out of.
Right.
Okay.
And due to DNA mutation, not everyone can be harvested. So when the Dyson sphere, Dyson sphere appears to harvest all mankind or all the genetic material that can be harvested, the rest of it remains on Earth, which DNA mutations. So you can harvest everything, and so these DNA mutations are there for left behind, and the angels will come and have to purify the earth so a new harvest process can be initiated and a new civilization can be grown to be harvested in 5 to 10,000 years.
That is a lot of storytelling. That's
Yeah. So
it sounds like you've created a massive world.
where did you
Kinda.
guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
wonder where you guys. Where did that the story come from? Like, when did you guys first start thinking that this story would make a fun game? How did that first spark in your minds?
that's a good question, actually. I think it came down to having the urge to create our own war game, since other war games were not not fun to play, or not in the timely manner to play, like they like I can set my time to. So most of the war games require a lot of how do I say it? A lot of preparation time and
Right.
playing time,
Yeah.
like a whole weekend. And we wanted to create something which everybody can play due to life changes, because we all grew up. We don't have that much time left, and I think it rose from there that we said, okay, we want to make a tabletop war game which can be played in 1 to 2 hours without almost no setup time.
Oh wow.
And from there, it began evolving. We are all fascinated with myths or legends or conspiracies like that. So it all came together pretty quick without thinking about it. We wanted to create a universe or a story or timeline, whatever you will want to call it, which hasn't been overused like almost every other stories, which are there. Which what you have already heard. So it should be a new setting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it,
it does.
it
It
really
feels
is.
very
I mean,
fresh.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Taking the Rapture from the Book of Revelation, it's definitely a unique world to explore,
Yes.
especially in a
Yes.
tabletop game, and that's fantastic. What when people back this on Kickstarter, are they getting all three factions that you've previously mentioned? What is in the base game for Rapture?
Well, yes, it was very important for us to have a finished product going on Kickstarter. So many other games are like a prototype or some vision or anything. Ours is completely finished. You can play it right now. We have a batch of the factions produced. We had some miniatures for these factions, but not the miniatures which you will get into the starter boxes. So different add-on miniatures, we had them produced already. We had an online shop, so people could buy and see the miniatures and get them beforehand. We had 4 miniatures on sale. So the material, the resin we used for them, the people could obtain them, check the quality of the product we will be releasing.
Right.
So yeah, these 3 factions, Angels, New World Order, and Atlantis, will be in the Kickstarter first. But as René mentioned, we have developed a lot of more factions. We have 6 factions up to this date, which are balanced and ready to go.
Wow.
And 5 more, so we have 11 or maybe 12, I don't know, 12 factions in the development. So there is, even after the Kickstarter campaign, a lot more to come. It's not like a Kickstarter one-shot and then forget. So
Right.
it's a lot of content. Yeah, René?
To get back to your initial question, everything will be available. We don't have a usual starter box where everything is in. So we have for a starter box for each faction.
Okay.
So you can choose the faction you want and have the rulebook additional to that. So you are not forced to buy every faction at once. So
Okay.
you can pick and choose whatever you like or whatever your playstyle fits. So, and yes, Atlantean faction is also with the Angels and the New World Order are available from the start. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Now, what would you say really sets Rapture apart from the traditional games like, say, Warhammer 40,000? What really makes your game stand out from ones that are already in play now?
Well, the biggest point is probably our action and reaction system. So, like in Warhammer, like when your opponent is with his turn, you can go and cook a meal or have a coffee or whatever, and come back a day later, and he's still not finished with his turn. Well, in our game, you have to pay attention what your enemy is doing, because you have the opportunity to react to the actions. If you get a base-to-base movement against you, you can shoot your enemy before he reaches you. If you're engaged in close combat, when the enemy attacks you, you can dodge or hit him back. Or when you're on unsafe terrain, on open terrain, I'd say, and you get shot at, you don't have any cover or anything, you can react also to that and seek shelter. You can throw yourself on the ground, make yourself small and hands. Improve your defense against being shot at. So you have to pay attention to what your enemy is doing in order to react to it.
So you can actually take actions on your opponent's turn.
Yes. Yes,
Wow.
you can.
Oh, very cool.
That's great because
So
not from the war games I've seen. Like I have a friend of mine who's very heavily into Lord of the Rings Warhammer, and I've seen it. Yeah, you're right. It's just one player plays and then the next player plays. There's no reaction. So it sounds awesome that you've thrown reaction into there.
Yeah, it was very, very important for us to keep both players engaged the whole time.
Right.
And the other system we have is the initiative for the battle stats. So each round, the initiative tells you whose turn is first, and the units all have different initiative. So it can vary from round to round. In round 1, player player A has first activation. Player B, it can also change, so the dynamic of the game keeps throughout the games. So it's not like in round 1, a dice roll, and he's won it, and he has the first activation for the whole game.
Right.
So
That's
we
very
try
cool.
to make it as engaging as possible for the whole game duration for both players.
All right.
That's excellent.
So I'm new to this. I've never actually tried one of these games. So as a beginner, I've read that this is a very beginner friendly. How easy is it going to be for me to pick up? Number one. Number two, I want to know which faction I should pick to make sure I beat Sean when we play.
It's actually really easy to pick up. So the basic rules are very simple. The depth of the rules comes from each unit. So each unit has its own rules. So no unit is alike like the other. So you bring the variety from them and the variety from them. So as I said, the basic rules are pretty simple to learn.
Okay.
But it may take some time, and you probably are better off learning it from someone who actually can play it. But it's not overwhelming like other games. Like you have to read 100 pages of rules, or for example, or must remember 30 or 40 special rules, or read them back in the book. So almost everything is written on the profile cards from each unit.
Oh,
so
okay.
you always have this let's call it feature to see the rules, what you can do. Basic movement or shooting or close combat is not printed on the cards, but the stats are. So you don't have to remember spreadsheets or anything else. Everything is written on the cards. Like you have to roll 3 dice with a 4 or higher to hit your opponent. So it's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
Okay.
So it'll be easy for me to learn, and then
Yes.
I master it over time.
Yes.
And make Sean cry
Yes.
when he loses horribly to me.
Yes, and the most beginner-friendly faction I would say are the Atlantean faction. Is the Atlantean faction, because they forgive. They have scaly skin, for example, which negates 1 damage automatically. Or have a lot of units. You don't have to play a lot of micromanagement or keep an eye on your units. Also, they have a special rule which let them dive through how how are they called in English? Those are like little swamps.
Okay.
And you
Swamps,
can
yeah.
place you can place 2 of them on the board, and your units can dive through them. So it's like a
Oh, like a
teleport.
teleport.
Yes.
Sean,
Oh.
I called dibs. I called dibs on the Atlanteans.
That's okay because I think I'm a partial to the angels. I think the angels are
Well,
really cool looking. So
The angels
deal.
are
That is where
yeah.
we're gonna go.
The angels are also really strong, but if you lose one, it hurts though.
oh,
But they are strong for themselves. New World Order, on the other hand, is more for the experienced tabletop gamers. They are also really strong, but also very fragile.
okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
The New World Order is probably the most hardest faction of those three to get a hand of, but they can be extremely rewarding. They
Yes.
have like one unique kind of ability to one unit. Lincoln is called, and he's got the ability to say no to anything or anyone happening on the battlefield. You can pay 2 action points and say no. Um, your opponent is making a move, like the angels will go close combat and will hit you like really hard, and you will die, and you normally you can't do anything. And the angel player does it. He's laughing and he's storming at you with his swords, and he will hit you, and you just say no, pay your action points, and then he can't do his action anymore, and his action points and his costs are wasted. So it's like a constant mind
Counterspell.
game. Yeah, it's a constant counter spell you can use one time each turn, but it's like those mind games the New World Order will play on you, like in
Wow.
real life. It's not
No,
just on the
I
battlefield.
forbid you to hit me.
Yeah,
I
and
love that. We should, Sean. Let's just add that to our regular day's life. Just once
Just
per
no.
day, we could just say no to anything.
Anything. Just
No.
no.
And this adds a whole new layer to the strategic game because you have to bait this action from your enemy. You know this Lincoln guy has got his action points. You can potentially say no, so I have to bait him maybe with another action, and to bait him, use his action points, and going from there to a different strategy where he can't say no anymore. So it's like
Yeah.
it can be a strategy breaking element if you overlook Lincoln. So.
Wow.
That's the play style of the New World Order. They are very fragile, and on the first look, they are not very they're so strong of a hitter, but they are very strategic to play and can
Wow. A lot of depth to them.
control.
Yeah. Which of these factions did you find the most difficult to balance while you were testing them?
Well, I'd say the Angels.
Yeah. So you had to
Because
work them out to make sure I get to play them properly. So you really worked on the angels. I'm glad to hear that. What made
we
them more
worked on
difficult?
yes, the flying aspect because they have only 3 units, and in our game you also have missions you can accomplish in a game. So every player has his own mission,
Okay.
and so the more units you basically have on the battlefield, you can have 2 units keeping business of missions, and 3 or 4 units keep your enemy company. But with angels, you only have 3, so you have lesser units. They are stronger, but they can also fly. So it's very hard to protect against them, but they obviously can't be too overpowered. So that was a challenge to
Okay.
balance them, from my opinion. But as I
Yeah,
said,
you're right.
we balanced 6
Uh,
factions so far, and there's another one coming in the future, which is also really hard. Yeah, René.
Yeah, to put this in perspective, every unit can move can normally move like 15 centimeters, and the angels can move 20 centimeters and have flying, so they can ignore terrain. That,
Oh,
Oh,
yes,
nice.
they- so that was a bit of a challenge, but I think we are on a good way, and we balance them pretty good. Even with their missions, they have their own missions. Normally, you can choose missions from a pool, but the angels can only choose missions designated to angels.
Okay.
So
So
Yeah,
with
we found a
missions,
good mix with them.
with missions,
Yes.
then, is the goal of the game still to eliminate the enemy, or is the goal more about completing your missions?
Well, the
Yes.
goal is to gain victory points. Sorry, the goal is
No
to
problem.
make victory points, and you gain victory points by eliminating your enemy or the units of your enemy, or for completing the missions. So you can be completely evaporated from the battlefield, but collected more victory points through missions, and you would still win this game.
Okay.
So it's not like you will be killed off for good and you lose the game. It's just all down to victory points.
Okay. Awesome.
That's very cool. So you'd mentioned that you have some more factions in play. Are those going to those extra factions that you guys are working on? Are those going to be available during this Kickstarter, or is this another Kickstarter down the road, or is this going to be something that you'll be able to pick up from you guys later?
They will be available on a later date. So depending on how good the Kickstarter runs, we may release another faction, as mentioned before, the Ignon. They're based on Mayan or Incan. Incan, is it right? I
Yes,
don't.
that's
Ink,
correct.
Incan,
Yes,
yep.
Incan history. Also woven in or tied in with the story, mainly with the Atlantean faction and the Angels. And yeah, depending on how well the Kickstarter runs, we may release them this Kickstarter. On the other factions, they will be released on a later date, maybe on another Kickstarter in the future, or
Okay.
due to regular releases we plan for the future.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
And
great.
the challenge is here because we are a first-time creator. We don't want to. We have a lot of content we could put into this Kickstarter. We're developing this game for 6 years, so there's a lot of it in the back drawer. But we don't want to have the first Kickstarter and then have our production chain and our capacities like blown away.
Right.
So we couldn't, so we would be in a position to not deliver our dates or deadlines or shipping
Yeah.
times. So yeah, of course we could do this and that and add in, but we want like to have a first project which is successful, which we ship, so the our customers can see the product and get a feel of it, and then continue from the one have like more some of our organic growth to the project and to our company as well,
Yes.
because launching too much would just be like would in the end disappoint more people because they have to wait more longer or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
Spread
Yeah.
too thin. They call
Yeah.
that.
Yes, we
yeah,
mainly want to build trust first with the customers or with everybody. So we don't want to oversaturate or overtake us ourselves.
You're right.
So we limit us to a special amount of miniatures we want to release at once, so that we are sure to deliver the product in the end.
That's
So
awesome.
this isn't a bubble which will pop.
Excellent. So the
Yeah.
Kickstarter starts early November. Are you still set for November 2nd?
um, no, November 2nd, we're set around mid-November
Mid-November.
because
Mid-November.
Okay.
Yeah,
we have
it
some
it will go to mid-November.
yeah,
Okay.
we have some graphic artists and we have some creators which we depend on, and they had some delays as well. And
Okay.
well, we haven't communicated the date to almost anyone yet.
Okay.
So November still stands, and we want to do it as early as possible in November. So the Kickstarter will run about 4 weeks. So we
Great.
definitely don't want to hit Christmas with our Kickstarter. So
Awesome.
it should end before that, before
Well,
the
everybody,
holidays.
look for the Rapture Kickstarter, early November to mid-November. Looking forward to it, gentlemen. The game sounds really fun. It definitely sounds like a game that is, for those who have never played a war game, it sounds like it's something you could very easily jump into and learn a lot quicker than your traditional one. Congratulations on doing that, and good luck with your campaign. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for having us. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us. Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.